Biological diversity or biodiversity refers to the variety of life across all levels. About 1.8 million species have been identified, but the actual amount may be 3 to 100 million. Scientists represent the history of divergence with phylogenetic trees. And these phylogenetic trees are constructed by analyzing the genes and external traits of organisms. Biodiversity also varies with location. Species richness generally increases as you approach the equator, and this is a pattern called latitudinal gradient in species richness. Some reasons for this include more solar energy, stability of tropical climates, and a lack of disruptive glaciation events. Species diversity also tends to increase in areas with more diverse habitats. Structurally diverse habitats like forests also tend to be more biodiverse. Biodiverse regions provide potential new or unused food sources. Wild relatives of crops we already use provide genetic diversity to protect against disease. Organisms provide drugs and medicine, and about half of today's pharmaceuticals are derived from the chemical compounds in wild plants. Biodiversity provides many ecosystem services and resources like food, fuel, shelter, air and water purification, waste decomposition, climate stabilization, pollination of plants, even controlling pests and diseases, and managing genetic diversity for crop varieties and livestock. Biodiversity increases the resilience of an ecosystem, which is its ability to withstand disturbance and recover from stress or adapt to change. If a keystone species like a top predator is lost, consequences will cascade down through the entire food chain. Or if an ecosystem engineer is lost, the entire structure of an ecosystem can change. An example of this is the removal of elephants from some of Africa's savannas, which has caused shrubby vegetation to overgrow, turning them into shrub forests. Habitat loss is the greatest threat to biodiversity today. Humans have altered, degraded, or destroyed habitats through urban sprawl, farming, grazing, clearing forests, and damming rivers. Habitat loss has affected every biome, with wetlands being especially threatened. Habitat loss is the primary source of the population declines in more than 80% of threatened birds and mammals. Pollution also impacts biodiversity in many ways. Air pollution degrades forests and affects the atmosphere and climate. Noise and light pollution affect the behavior and habitat use of animals. Water pollution directly harms fish and amphibians. Agricultural runoff affects the food webs of aquatic ecosystems, and persistent pollutants like heavy metals directly poison people and wildlife. Plastic in the ocean can strangle, drown, or choke marine animals. Climate change is also hurting biodiversity, with the warming temperatures causing some animals to shift their ranges to be closer to the poles or higher in altitude. Organisms already living in these places, like polar bears, have nowhere left to go, and they're especially vulnerable. Species that are endemic to a region, meaning they occur nowhere else on the planet, are especially vulnerable to environmental change. If an event affects their region, it affects all members of the species. Extirpation is the loss of a species from one area, but not the entire world. An example of this is the black rhino, which has been extirpated from most of its historic range, but it is not yet extinct. Extinction occurs when the environment changes more rapidly than the species can adapt. Small and narrowly specialized populations are the most vulnerable to extinction. Earth has seen several episodes of mass extinction. Most extinction happens gradually at a rate called the background extinction rate. The Earth has seen at least 5 mass extinction events that wiped out 50 to 95% of Earth's species each time. The most catastrophic was the Permian-Triassic extinction event 250 million years ago. Some causes for mass extinction events include volcanism, asteroid impact, methane releases, and global warming. Today's extinction rate is estimated to be 100 to 1,000 times higher than the background rate and rising. Some causes for this increase include human population growth, altering or destroying natural habitats, overhunting, overharvesting, pollution of air, water, and soil, the introduction of non-native species, and of course, climate change.